So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have back with us Sarah Derbyshire, who's the CEO at Orchestras Live. So, Sarah, thank you for coming back and spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd again like to just reintroduce yourself, Orchestras Live, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's great to be here, Chris. Thanks for getting back in touch.
You're welcome.
And yes, I'm Sarah Derbyshire. I'm Chief Executive of Orchestras Live. We're a music charity, but we operate in a very business-like way.
Brilliant.
And I'll go on and talk a bit about how that's developing at the moment. But the key part of the key sort of driver for what we do is to ensure that we increase access to high quality live orchestral experiences
Brilliant.
for people wherever they live, whatever their background, whether they think they're interested in orchestral music or not, because we believe and we have evidence that that kind of engagement in live music making is incredibly beneficial for people. It brings
Yeah.
all sorts of benefits to them personally, but also actually to the places where they live and work.
Yes.
And it can generate a whole kind of new a sense of where you live, your pride in where you live, what you might like to see change. You can
Yeah.
express things about that. So we bring orchestras and communities together to create those experiences. Nearly all of our work, if it's not directly creative, it involves people in those communities in guiding and shaping the orchestral activity that will take place. And those communities, we might engage with children and young people in school. We might engage with vulnerable adults, with people living with dementia and their carers. All kinds of different ways in which people might otherwise find access to that kind of experience would be difficult. And we work with the orchestras to help them understand best how to make those connections, how
Yeah.
to design something that's relevant, that engages people, that allows people to have that agency, if you like, in shaping what the product is. So it's like everybody's learning.
Yeah.
The orchestras are learning just as much as people in those communities, and we make some fantastic experiences happen all over England.
Brilliant, wonderful. Yes, it's a fascinating thing you do, and you, when you're talking about sort of people with dementia, I've seen various sort of TV programs where people have, through music, through singing, have reconnected with the past, which was a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Vicky McClure has been a wonderful advocate for that, as have a number of other people who've seen family members respond in that way to live music. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. So we spoke together, I think it was sort of 15 months ago, I'm guessing. I'm keen to know what's changed for you and Orchestras Live since we last spoke.
Yeah. Well, we've been engaged in quite a bit of organizational development
Yep.
in two ways. The first way has been in creating three brand new posts, and they are all about deepening our connection and impact in those local communities.
Brilliant.
So, you know, you can't, when you work in a place that hasn't necessarily had orchestral provision before, it's not like they don't have culture, but they don't have necessarily the infrastructure or the
Yeah.
experience of that kind of activity. Uh, we want to work people to kind of create a bit of a bridge and also to help them keep activity going in between projects, because
Yeah.
otherwise you get this awful business of parachuting in and then everybody
Yeah.
disappears and you think, oh, great, what was that
Yes.
about? So we've created three new posts. They're called Community Impact Coordinators,
Brilliant.
and they work in the North, in the East, and in the Midlands to develop those local relationships. And that's really kind of deepening the impact of what we do, and it's also helping our producer team to set up new partnerships
Brilliant.
in those places. So that's been really exciting.
Yeah.
Recruitment, as you know, is really time consuming. So,
Yes.
but it does make you think about your business and how, especially when it's a new post,
Yeah.
you've got to really think hard about how you attract people and what you're looking for and what they're going to be doing when they arrive. So that's been a really interesting process. And the other thing that you and I talked a lot about was our own business development plan.
Yeah.
So anybody working in the charitable sector will know that things are really, really competitive.
Yeah.
And we're all adjusting to a changing landscape the whole time. But we all know that individuals and other, public authorities and charitable grant-making trusts, nobody is awash with money, and there's a huge amount of competition.
Yeah.
So we've known for quite a while that we had to find other ways of generating income.
Yes.
And we decided to do a really concerted piece of work, which you and I talked about last time, to reassure ourselves that an idea that we had, which was that we could actually capitalize on our own expertise internally, had legs and could really develop into a business development opportunity. So we got that put together. We brought in an external strategist to work on that with us. The board inspected that, agreed, yes, we think this is a goer.
Brilliant.
And then we had to think, oh, right, okay, how are we going to go about it? And the big question for me when we spoke was, how do I manage this process whilst not taking all of my team away from the core focus of the charity?
Yes.
So we have now employed, only part-time, but he's making great strides, a business innovation manager, and it's his job to lead on the whole initiative, but also to make sure that we, within the organization, all understand where we're going.
Right.
We're all salespeople. It's our expertise that we want people to come and ask about. And also, I think the really key thing, and this has always been a concern for the board as well as the staff, is that because it grows out of what we already do, in a way, it's just a slightly different way of looking at doing what we already do and what we really believe in.
Yes.
And of course, the incentive is that if it works, it's going to feed back into the organization and it's going to help us do more.
Yeah.
So we're making good strides, and we've not tried to do too much at once, because that's the other.
Yeah. Step by step.
Especially with a charitable organization, you want to be everything for everybody, and you really can't do that. It just, spreads you far too thinly.
Yeah.
So we've identified something that actually we were beginning to develop already, kind of with a bit of a income generation head on, or at least a business head on, because that's also been quite interesting, that once you decide, okay, this is what we're going to do, you do begin to think a little bit differently. And it's amazing how that organic process can take root right across the team. So the thing that we're leading on, we're really excited about, and it's called a social value engine. And it's something that we worked on with one of our local authority partners. They had developed the engine themselves with an external consultancy called Rose Regeneration. And they were using it internally to measure the social value of their own, whether it's bin collection or road safety or all of the other things that a council does. And when we were working with our partner, they said, well, we've never actually applied this to a cultural project. And we thought that would be a really interesting thing to do. Quite a nerve-wracking thing to do, because orchestras are not cheap.
Yes.
So coming out with a positive social return, wasn't absolutely going to happen. But we ran the engine, and what it does is it takes the data that you decide the data that you're going to collect.
Yeah.
Ideally, it should be data you're already collecting, so you're not
Yes.
adding another layer. And you put it through the engine, which is quite a complex system of proxies that work through spreadsheets to, in the end, tell you for every pound you have spent on that project, what is the social value?
Oh, right. Great. Yeah.
And social value, lots of people will be aware of this outside the charity sector because actually it's now incorporated into the tendering and procurement process for public contracts.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everybody's needing to demonstrate that social
Yes.
value. It's also a kind of holy grail for the cultural sector because culture is easy to say, that's a bit of a luxury. We're not going to pay for that. That's going to be one of the things we're going to save some money on. What we know, but what we have to find better ways of communicating is there is a social value to this. There's an intrinsic value that lives in the community and will continue to benefit the community. So it might mean that there's less nuisance crime on your streets, or it might mean that people need to access mental health support services less.
Yeah.
Or it might just mean that your village hall begins to grow and have a more vibrant life and everybody's engaged in the community in a much more positive way.
Yeah.
So the other thing about the social value engine, which I really like, is that it's fairly flexible in terms of measuring against the goals that you might choose. But the goals that we talk about are the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Right.
And that is a framework that no matter wherever you're working, whatever your business, we know what the UN Sustainable Development Goals are.
Right.
So you don't have to try and interpret what you're doing and the value of it for the people that you're showing that positive return. And so we ran the engine on a project that we were running in the East Riding, and the result came out that for every pound we had spent, we generated £8.73 of social value.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great news.
So we thought, okay, we're pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Partners were pleased with that. Our funders are really pleased with that.
Yep.
And so what we've been doing is, obviously that was the first time it was done in a cultural setting. And it was quite hard work to figure out how to make all these little, bits that go into the engine, how to get them to work. So we thought, what if we devise a version of the social value engine that actually fits really well for cultural organizations?
Yep.
So that's what we've been working on. We're continuing to test it on our own projects so that we can show those who are interested in using it that it's robust.
Yep.
It's actually the only social value engine in this country that's accredited by the International Social Value Association. So, we feel we've got a really great product, a product that people really need.
Yes.
And we can help them because we've done the hard graft, as it were. We've put in the hours in figuring out how you do the various matching up processes. So we can do a kind of hand-holding exercise through the process.
So you're offering this as a service?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be the first kind of distinctive service that's coming out of our business innovation strategy.
And just idea of sort of who would make a great client for that, just so we're clear, because I appreciate how that's worked for you, but who are you thinking who the sort of targets you're looking for?
Well, I mean, initially we're looking at home, if you like. So we feel that orchestras that are doing engagement work and are looking to articulate the value of that,
Brilliant.
they would be great clients. Also thinking about festivals that happen all over the country. They might be really small, quite local festivals. They could be much bigger festivals that are wanting to show what's the social impact of our taking over Six Fields and causing mayhem on the roads. So that's another area. But it could be other cultural organizations that are not necessarily music organizations. Because the things you're looking at apply whatever your activity happens to be.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I mean, it's one of those. It's probably one of the classic marketing challenges of there's so many opportunities, but if we go too broad, we don't get a strong enough message, if that makes sense. So it is about looking at individual opportunities by opportunity would be typically the thing to do, and say, right, okay, who will we address next, and why specifically would they benefit from this? Oh, fascinating. Goodness. So you have been busy.
We have been busy.
And along the way, what sort of like that? I mean, what a significant win. What are some of the challenges that you've faced along that, whether that's to do with that or just in general as an organization?
I think one challenge is just managing your own expectations. So we've been really careful to take the time we need to be confident, both even when we were thinking about, okay, what do we want the business innovation manager to do? How are we going to frame that job description? What's the role? What's the impact we want them to make? So we have resisted the urge to kind of push on in order to start, seeing the money rolling in, which I know it won't be rolling in, but you know what I mean.
Let's hope so.
So I think that managing expectations internally, still think getting the mindset right, not balancing that confidence in the product with an understanding that we have to express that, and we have to convey what we're offering in a way that's slightly different from the way that we might normally be talking with a partner. It's not really very different, because all the motivations are the same. It's just that the financial relationship is different. So it's building up and actually taking time over doing that, taking time over understanding what we're doing here has helped us with that, because then you build confidence. It doesn't feel so strange. You understand the premise of why you're going about that. And that then helps kind of bring in some new kind of systems within the organization, because operations are different when you're looking at kind of charitable income and forecasting from, pipeline development and relationship, all of that kind of thing. That's quite, the project management for that side of things is different from the way that we might be doing it. So that's been quite a challenge. And I think just, finding the time, the capacity will go on being a challenge until we get to the point where we know we're able to actually invest back into the organization, and that will support backfill or new posts or whatever it is that we need to make those things happen.
Brilliant. Yeah, one of the principles we operate on is recruit when you can half afford the person. Because if you wait till you can fully afford it, it's probably too late. You've already have a post, and it's always a difficult thing to do, because but their job is to bring the other half of their salary to bear, by their actions. But oh, wonderful. And how good would you say? I mean, great set of wins you've identified there. How good are you naturally at celebrating the wins that you have achieved?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we have to remind ourselves internally to do that a bit more often than we do. We are, I think, better than we used to be to celebrating those externally. We've developed, actually, this happened during lockdown. We started doing a series of tea breaks, which we
Brilliant.
pre-record,
Oh,
and we kind of chunk it up into snippets. And my colleagues have done a brilliant tea break about the social value engine, but we do it about lots of other things as well. And it's a
brilliant.
nice bite-sized way, and actually it's an asset that you can go on pointing people to. Once you've done it, it's there, and if you're picking the right kind of topics, they will go on being relevant as well. So
Brilliant.
yeah, I think we're getting a lot better at celebrating that. I think one of the next challenges is thinking about the people that we don't currently reach
Yeah.
and how we connect with them. And we're really interested, just thinking about the Northern Powerhouse and our region in the north, we're really
Yes.
interested in how the mayors and the combined authorities are developing. We feel actually that our kind of work, the place-based work, particularly with communities that have traditionally been underinvested,
Yes.
we've got a lot to talk about there.
Yeah. Great.
And so we're hoping that from our own point of view, quite apart from business innovation, the social value engine is going to give us,
Yes.
a good starting point for those conversations.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's that evidence of value, isn't it? That demonstrates that we all intrinsically know that, but it's being able to value it as a return, as you said, a return on investment. And a
Yeah, yeah.
1 to 8, 8 to 1 return on investment is pretty significant, or
It's
very
not bad, is it?
not too bad at all. I think there's many people out there would love that sort of level of return on investment in anything they do. And from both the wins and the challenges, what would you say you've learned from them moving forward? What have been the sort of learnings from those things?
I think learning to hold our nerve. I think
Great.
your point about, the time to a point is when you can half afford it. Again, the charitable sector isn't really built like that.
No, I get that.
That's but you have to invest if you're going to get something to move forward.
Yeah.
So I think we've learnt how to ensure that when I work with my board, obviously I want them to agree to what I'm proposing because I think it's a good idea.
Yes.
But I've got to find a way that is completely transparent and clear about what we're doing. I don't want anybody in 6 months' time to say, "Oh, you never said that when you brought that
Yep.
presentation." But equally, it's my job to show them how this is going to help us achieve our charitable objects. So that's been really, really interesting. I think the other thing that I have learned, or that this has reinforced, is that although I lead the organization, I am not the only person with good ideas.
No.
And with a growing team, because we have actually brought on 2 brand new members of staff, my job actually is to enable those people to have the good ideas. I'm still allowed to have a good idea now and again, but that's quite liberating, really.
Yes.
It can be really time consuming to make sure that you give people the right kind of support and encouragement. And actually, your point about celebration is a really good one. But I think I have definitely learnt to remind myself that I don't have to be the one who comes up with every bright idea.
No, it's great to think that's, A, it's not a job, and B, it's great to think we're the only people that have those ideas. And it takes the pressure off, doesn't it, in many ways? It's
Yeah,
like it's not just me, it's us. And there's so much gold out there in people, people bringing ideas
absolutely.
from so many different
Yeah.
situations, previous organizations, previous roles, totally left field from something they've seen or watched or experienced, and bring those sides together. I think the mark of a great leader is listening first and then deciding and acting, but it's the deciding and acting probably is our job, but the listening key thing is listen to what other people have got to say.
Mm, mm.
And what have you learned about yourself?
Um, hmm. I think that's quite a key thing. I've maybe identified that that's something that maybe is more of a mark of my leadership style than I had
Great.
maybe kind of identified before.
Yes.
Um, I think I've always been quite persuasive. So the idea of shifting into the selling mode, I realize is not such a frightening thought. And I'm hoping that that kind of also helps my colleagues who are, and we're going to be talking about this, that we've got an away day coming up next month, and we're going to be sort of, exploring. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, but yeah, exploring that kind of sales
Oh,
role and
great.
how we go about that.
Uh,
Yeah, I think reminding myself to enjoy having the confidence in the team that I do. And seeing them grow is such a pleasure as well, seeing
Brilliant.
individuals growing through their role.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Yeah, well, if it helps anything, we do a lot of sales training, and
Okay.
our definition of sales, which I think helps many people, is professionally helping people buy what they need.
Yeah.
So to do that, to start with, we have to establish if there's a need or not, and if there isn't, then we move on.
Yeah.
So most people have a very invalid view of selling, which is making people buy stuff that you got.
Hmm.
And it doesn't happen because people, if they want it, they find a way of avoiding doing it.
Yeah.
But it's that causes a pressure in
Yeah.
people thinking that
Yeah.
they're doing something that's somehow, not a profession, and it is a profession as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. And if we do it properly, we help lots more people, which clearly the services and tools you've got will help a lot of people develop their own businesses and organizations. So it's something. So no, absolutely brilliant. And so, I mean, obviously that you've got a big thing going on there that's part of the future. But what else does what does the future hold for you guys, and what may be the next challenges other than obviously the sales and the selling proposition?
Yeah. Well, we're obviously thinking about where we sit in the new political landscape. I think that's
Yes.
quite a big thing for us.
Yep.
So as I've said, the whole new developing structure of combined authorities and the mayors, and just finding our way through that and
Yeah.
making sure that we're um, talking to the right people. I think we've got a lot to bring to that because we've always engaged with local authorities,
Yeah.
and we do understand about relationship building at the local level, and understanding exactly as you say, understanding the need
Yeah.
in different regional areas and so on. But it's going to be finding the right people to talk to,
Yes.
and understanding. So I think it's interesting with the current government, their kind of mission-led focus, and particularly when you know that there's not going to be any new money anytime soon, you've got to think, how can we show that we're going to actually help you fulfill that mission? That what
Yes.
we already do helps fulfill that mission and
Brilliant.
potentially could save money. I
Yes.
know that sounds crazy, but give us money to save money. But in a way, that is the message.
Yeah.
And if we can back that up with this social
Yeah.
value evidence and so on, that. So I think it what we do won't change, but I think some of the emphasis in what we do might change. And
Yeah.
I think another big area that we're going to develop over the next few years is the way that we work in the health and well-being sector, and finding partners there. Again, there's that, professionals end up speaking slightly different languages from one another.
Yes.
So the healthcare sector has one set of metrics. We've got another set of metrics. How can we actually show that when you bring the two together, you can produce something that has
Yes.
a result that works for everybody? So that's another big area for us.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And yeah, I mean, there's so much there, isn't there, that you can do it. As I say, it's almost like that it's intrinsically people I would imagine would accept and believe that music and orchestras would enhance people's lives. But the more we can demonstrate that quantitatively, I guess, and
Yeah,
qualitatively, is really
yeah,
going to help that proposition.
yeah.
Um, Wonderful. Is there? I mean, so much there we've already talked about. Is there any other new initiatives you've got planned for this year, or is it really just make this the? And I think it was Stephen Covey once said, "The main thing is to make the main thing the main thing."
That's it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, Sarah, it's been fascinating talking again, and congratulations on what you've achieved so far. We're really be great to come back and talk again about what you've learned through this process of rolling out this service. But for anyone that is watching, what's the best way of contacting you or Orchestras Live?
Yep. Well, the website is orchestraslive.org.uk. And if you search for Social Value Engine, you'll find that tea break, for example, if you're interested in that. But you can find all about the different projects that we run around the country. And it tells you who we are and how you can get in touch with us as well. So that's the place to go.
Brilliant. Well, as I say, till next time, thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. It's been great to have another conversation.
Brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.